I am Austin Muma, and I'm a professional Overwatch League player for the Houston Outlaws. I was a professional player in a game called Team Fortress 2, and as soon as Overwatch came out, I decided to switch titles and pursue it professionally instead. My specialty? Tanks. As a tank main, the goal in every game should be to make as much space for your team as possible. When choosing which tank to play, my advice is to wait and see which heroes your teammates select. What they select determines what the team needs. So there are 7 different tanks in the game right now. Each one has their different pros and cons. D.Va, Orisa, Reinhardt, Roadhog, Winston, Wrecking Ball. The last tank is Zarya. If your team is heavy with flankers like Tracer and Genji, a tank like Reinhardt or Orisa would not be a good choice because they have very low mobility and a stationary shield. In a situation like this, I'd suggest you play a tank such as Winston or Wrecking Ball because they are highly mobile and can make lots of space for your flankers. The next factor when choosing a tank is taking into consideration what heroes the enemy team is playing. If they have a Soul and Mercy healing, I recommend playing a tank like Winston or Hammond because you can dive on her relatively easily and nobody should be able to help her, so she should be an easy kill. When defending, it's often best to pick a more stationary tank that is good at defending an area such as Orisa or Reinhardt. If you're on the attacking team, it's often best to focus more on mobility, so I'll choose someone like Winston, Wrecking Ball, or D.Va. Whether or not you can play aggressively often comes down to your teammates' hero selections. If you have a very limited amount of healings, it's probably best to pick a more self-sufficient tank, such as Winston or Wrecking Ball. So, if you are ready to man the front line and soak up damage for your team, here are my tips to be a better tank. So when you have Winston's ultimate ability available, Primal Rage, the one thing I try to focus on doing is like making sure that I'm trying to put out as much damage and juggle them to where I want them to go. For example, like if I want to go on this McCree and I want to focus on him, I can jump him, Primal, and juggle him the way I want him to go and push him to where I want him to be so that I can push him off the map or into a corner where it's easier to kill him. So when using Orisa's Halt, it's often best to try to pull the enemies vertically so that it puts their path in like a more predictable path. So most Orisas, like novice Orisas, will just pull them in a direction they want them to go, which is like good and all, and it pulls them horizontally, so it's a little harder to track. But if you use your Halts more vertically, it puts them in a lot easier of a path, so it's easier to like gun them down because you can just track them very easily. So when I first started playing Wrecking Ball, I did a lot of like horizontal grapples like this, and they're really like fine and dandy for like speed and stuff. But when you start to play the hero a lot more and have a better understanding of his movement abilities, it opens up like a whole another world, and there's like lots of different grapples you can learn to do when you grapple vertically instead of just horizontally, because it just gives you new paths to travel. As for like a rule of thumb when using his ultimate, almost all the time when you use it, you want to make sure that you have your pile drive available, so you can grapple vertically and then use your mines while in the air, and then you pile drive them, and that will stun them briefly, allowing the mines to like do the maximum amount of damage possible. So if I grapple vertically above point, drop my mines in the air, and then pile drive him, it'll knock him in the air like so, giving the bombs time to prime, and then deading and killing him. Thanks for watching.